Welcome back. Our next guest, along with many thousands of others around Australia who are home buyers, is as mad as hell. And the difference is she's not going to take it anymore, as Peter Finch did in Network. From Canberra, please welcome the convener of the Interest Rates Revolt, Mrs. Gina Jeffries. Gina? You're as mad as hell, as I say, and you're not going to take it anymore.
That's right, and I want other people to stand up and say that they're not going to take it anymore either, because I don't think people can really pay any more than they are paying.
So how did you get together? How did you form this?
As you said, I got so mad, I was so frustrated and so sick of just being a complainer sitting at home, whinging to my husband, that I rang a local community newspaper, the Chronicle, and I spoke to their journalist, and he said, that will be a good story. We haven't really done much about this, and yes, it is a big problem. He was sympathetic, so he did a story. And from that story, we got a really fantastic response. A lot of people rang up. The paper passed their names on to me, and I called them, and we had our first meeting. And from that, we had another meeting, and then we organised what we hope will be a huge public meeting tomorrow night in Canberra at the Tuggeranong Hyperdome shopping town to show the government that we do protest, that we're not just going to sit there and take it.
What about the politicians? Any representing tomorrow night?
We have, yes, after a lot of hounding. I have some one Liberal, one Labor from local politics, and Senator Gina Jeffries. I didn't have to hound her. She's an Australian Democrat, and she actually helped to found the group in Perth. But the group in Canberra started completely independently.
Do you think it's too early to say that you've got the potties worried?
No, I think we had them worried when we started to be asked to be interviewed on national radio, television, and from when we got into commercial papers, not just community papers. They know the problems there. That's why they're trying so hard to ignore it.
Rates have gone up before. Why are you so angry this time?
Because I think it was such a shock before that people didn't realise what was happening. It takes you a while to absorb these things, and also people out there in the community think that the government is in control. And we also have this brainwashing from generations past that banks are there to help us. Now, banks are there to make money, and if you ask a bank, that's what they'll tell you they're there for. They are there to make money.
Interesting thing is, we invited a couple of banks to send a rep on to be with us today to join you in this little situation, and their immediate question was, who's coming on? And they don't like to face a consumer. They'll face an economist, but not a consumer.
Because an economist is detached. Actually, I think economists are becoming less detached these days from comments I've seen in editorials. But yes, we've had the same response in our public meeting. We've had a very tentative maybe from the ANZ, and no other bank even wishes to respond. They say, no, we're not interested, immediately. Well, you know, if that's their attitude, you can gauge from that the level of their sense of social responsibility to the community.
At the meeting tomorrow night, then afterwards, what's the plan of attack?
We plan from that meeting to call for people to come forward to get onto a committee. And we hope from that committee, because we're having people from Sydney who've decided to drive up, in a lot of cases after work, so that they can be there too. And we're going to form a committee which will coordinate activities in other states, because at the moment we've had interest from Cairns, Brisbane, a lot of interest from Brisbane, Sydney, a tremendous amount of interest, as you'll probably realise, Melbourne and Tasmania. And the media in those states on the local level is already starting to get behind those people. And of course there's the group in Perth.
Do you see this as the start of some sort of political party, a new one on the horizon?
No, I see this as the start of really giving the politicians a kick. Mortgage Action is the group in Perth, and we're now affiliated with them. And they plan to be a group, an association forever, a watchdog, to make sure that this situation does not happen again, because we're going to stop it. We have the electoral power to stop it, and we're telling the Labor government and the Liberal government that they're not doing anything for us now, and we are the people who pay them their salaries.
What about your idea of a repayment moratorium? How will that work?
Well, all we need for that is for people to say, we will do it because we're sick of it. All we need is to say to the Australian public, right, on this date, we'd like you only to pay 13.5% to your bank. Put the rest of your money in a credit union where they can't touch it and you will get interest. After all, isn't that what the Treasurer is asking us to do? He wants us to save money. Well, our mortgage repayments, the increases now, are coming out of our food money, and I'll bet people in the audience here would realise that they've got children or grandchildren in that situation. We haven't got any more money. Our wages don't go up like the bank's profits. We don't get a 60% increase every 6 months. So I think we'll have to tell them, they'll have to jump. But this is so unfair for people to lose the homes that they've worked so hard to get just so that the banks can keep on making their profit. Why shouldn't the banks make a loss?
I can hear a lot of mms over there. I think you've got a lot of people on your side over there.
Thank you.
And indeed, you have to right throughout Australia, because
right.
you make a lot of sense, Gina.
Thank you.
Were you impressed with Mr Keating going away so soon?
No, I wasn't. I don't think that the rest of Australia is inspired with confidence in seeing him leave. And I also think the thing that really, really stinks about that is that he's staying in a hotel where one room costs $400 a night. But he would not be staying in one room. I'm sure he has a suite of rooms. What is that costing us? Now, that might be just one thing, but that's one of many where the people in these positions of extreme power are wasting our money with their hypocrisy. And I think, the public is sick of that.
Well, for the people who can't get to the meeting tomorrow night, what can they do?
If you can't get to a meeting, what you can do is you can write letters to local politicians. Our petitions asking the government to regulate all home loans at 13.5% maximum, but we prefer 10%, and why not? Because they are home loans for families. They'll be circulating throughout Australia. Now, what people can do is get hold of a copy of our petition, make more photocopies and pass them around, and when they've got enough signatures, send them off to the politicians.
Terrific. Thanks for being on the show, Gina, and good luck tomorrow night.
Thank you very
Gina
much.
Jeffries, who is convener of the Interest Rates Revolt here in Australia.